Girls of Reddit, what are some hints you gave to a crush which flew right over their head? The more obvious, the better. I sat on his lap and I put his arms around my waist, rested my head on his shoulder and held onto his hands. He still had no idea I liked him. Edit. For those who are confused, picture. I attempted to low-key ask him to prom. Had to be cool about it, you know. Nice and smooth. My phrasing was something along the lines of, maybe you and I should go to prom together. It'd be more fun than going alone. His response was just yeah maybe before he walked away. I took this as a rejection and immediately ceased all my other genius attempts at flirting, such as hugging, touching his hair, letting him carry my bag to the bus. He just kind of did it. I never made him and it became a daily routine for us. Smiling at him and other such things. I thought I was so subtle but almost everyone knew. I found out years later that he honestly had been clueless and the reason he had grown kind of distant with me is he thought I didn't like him back. Dang it. Story time from my perspective. Hindsight is 20/20. At work with this girl, capital K. She comes over to my house a lot. Spends time watching TV, joking around, snacking. I think just having fun together as friends because 1. I have never been in a relationship before. About 21 at the time. 2. I was raised in a super conservative Christian home. Anyways, one day her best friend is hanging out with me and asking tons of questions about how I feel about K. You two are spending a lot of time together. Are you going to ask her out? Of course I respond with how we are just friends. She shouldn't worry about it. Blah blah. I am so bad at hints it's painful. Fast forward a week or so. Kay is over at my house super late and decides she isn't going home. She will just sleep at my place. I insisted on sleeping on the couch. She was having none of it. I find a compromise and sleep in pajamas for the first time in 10+ years and sleep under the blanket but not the sheet. So we are not actually touching. She gets super cuddly, and I roll over and go to sleep. TLDR. Girl tries to sleep with me. I assume too lazy to drive home. An incredible blind guy. Met her in the bar. Lots of dancing together. Drinks. Her hand sitting on my thigh almost all the time as we sat. She asks me to walk her home, saying no one is home and she feels unsafe. I agree. In front of her home we stand there the moment she takes initiative and kisses me. I literally jump up. Because I was looking just past her face at this new Audi driving up the hill kinda half zoned out. I feel so sorry for her still. To the girls of Reddit, sometimes we ignore your super obvious hints because we aren't interested. I outright told him I like him. He laughed and went, okay, where are the cameras? Hey, computer store guy. The best response to hey, let me have your number so we can study at my place sometime is not to roll your eyes and say oh yeah, because you are so much smarter than me. I don't need help. I'm fine. Though watching your coworker silently loses it in the background was reward enough for that interaction. I said I wanna duck you. He said thanks. Another time I texted a guy I wanted to sit on his face and 20 minutes later I was doing just that. Win some, lose some. I'm the guy whose head it went over after my first real date ever, though at the time I wasn't sure if it was a date. When I was 19 at the movies, I took her home. I offered to walk her to her door like a sir. When we're up there she tells me I didn't have to do that and I reply with something like well, sometimes I like to pull out the old school traditional moves. She turns away from the key in her door, takes a slight step towards me, and says well, do you know any more of those traditional moves? I ducking bow, tip my ducking hat, and ducking say some corny yet like I had a lovely time tonight. Madam, I didn't realize what I'd missed until I was halfway home and I scared the people beside me at the light because I was screaming at the top of my lungs and pounding the dashboard. Telling that story still makes me mad at myself all these years later. Well, we were both really drunk. She sat on my lap and said I could never be with a guy like you. You're too nice. She was feeling my face and everything. I was confused. I had a boner and was sad at the same time. I'm so ducking alone. As a guy, I've been led on by girls who weren't attracted to me who use most of the hints I read about in this thread. Not a girl bullshit. Back in high school I was very close to this girl who was in my friend group. Me and her did everything together. Like go to the movies without the others in the group. Go on lunch dates. She'd sleep over. We were basically a couple. I say basically because we did all this, but I wasn't dating her or ever tried because I really thought she wasn't into me. But I mean, this girl literally would tell me things like, I would be happy if you were my first time. And she actually got naked in front of me one day. I was just an extremely dense kid who assumed she was like this with all guys. On a happier note, I did end up dating her once I got to college and we're still together now. I have a feeling that if she were a Redditor, a friend of mine would be on here talking about me right now. I've known her for about 4 years now. I have always had a crush on her, but when I brought it up a few years back she gave me a lukewarm response. I never mentioned it again. Then last night she got to talking about reaching that age where you want something comfortable to settle into. And she kept throwing hints about me. As much as I adore this girl and have wanted to date her for a long time, I didn't like the way she worded everything. It wasn't like there's someone I like and I don't know how to tell her. It was more like I want a relationship, but I don't want to date strangers. I guess that's why I spend time with you. You're comfortable. I like how comfortable we are together. But I also need passion. So, I joked my way out of the awkwardness. I'm sure she thinks I didn't catch her hints. I did. I just want her to be interested in me because I'm special to her and she appreciates me. Not just because I'm good enough and she doesn't feel like trying harder. You know? This question make me sad. Because I never get a hint from a girl. Using my husband account. I just kissed him because he wasn't taking any hint. Take control. If he likes you, it's a sure winner. Snapchats with cleavage. So much cleavage. Not a girl. But one time this girl who I knew had a crush on me somehow got my number and called me. She told me she liked me. I hung up the phone. Girls be like, I really like this guy. How do I let him know? Do absolutely anything except tell him. When I told him I wanted to kiss him and he told me not to duck with his feelings and stormed off, A friend told me she had a crush on a girl but didn't know if she was straight and couldn't figure out how to raise the subject. I gave her some mostly joking suggestions. I was the girl. It went so far over my head that I actually got jealous of the mystery girl. She's my girlfriend now and is still laughing about the fact that I was jealous of myself. I asked a guy if he'd bring some Xbox original games for us to play. In short, it was code for this. He brought over a big bag of games, and we played them. I remember one was Time Splitters, which I frickin' loved and wish I still had means to play. I didn't tell him my original plan until a couple of years after we'd started going out. He was just so frickin' cute. All super stoked that I wanted to game with him. I remember he came over a little later than planned because he had been carefully selecting which games to bring. I married that goober. Band trip to Universal. I had purposefully chosen his group to walk around with and stayed mostly hanging out with just him. Always tried to sit next to him on rides that required the group to split. Second day of the trip. We went to the second park. We all got butterbeer and I didn't get a straw so it was all over my top lip. He says, if you were any other girl, I would be all smooth and be like, here, let me help you with that and kiss you. But I don't think you like that. I blush and say, well, how do you know I'm not like that? No response : I sat next to him on the bus ride to and from Universal. Even took home the stuffed dinosaur he won. And I'm pretty sure I bought him and his friend cheesecake. All while he was pining over another girl. Apparently our friends were making bets on how long it would take us to get together. Took him a few weeks. But that's my boyfriend. Everyone. He knows my Reddit. Too. So hi sweetheart. I kissed my now boyfriend a year before we started dating. He thought I slipped. He didn't know I liked him until I showed up at his basic training graduation. We would always hang out after classes on our own and I'd rest my head against his chest or lap, depending on whatever was comfiest. When we'd watch movies, I'd play with his hair a lot. I even kissed him on the cheek once. He had no idea. Back when we had just met, my husband missed many of my extremely obvious and subtle hints. I would say things like you should stay here and sleep with me tonight, and he would say, oh, no, I'm not tired yet. I'll go home so you can sleep. Turned out he was just super conscious of me being 17 instead of 18. He was early 20s. Once I turned 18 he suddenly became aware of all my not very subtle advances. I guess it was a little bit past crush at this point, but we were on a date and he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said, well, I don't even know what it's like to kiss you yet. He goes, oh, okay. I was like, that was your cue, and kissed him. It was kind of cute. Dense males kicking themselves. Addendum to this. Some of us are very good at rationalizing away hints we've noticed. For example, I've literally been making out with a girl who has told me she only is physical when there is meaning. Then a day later convinced myself it didn't mean she liked me. Incoming boys of Reddit. What are? I knew he liked me. I got in prime kissing position, as in my lips way too close to his to be mistaken for anything else, and he still did nothing. So I kissed him. He barely kissed me back, and when I pulled away and smiled at him he said, I'm confused, and genuinely looked like he did not believe that what just happened was real. We've been together 7 years now, 3 of which we've been married. He still has moments weekly where I see that same cute disbelieving expression on his face, and he'll hug me and say, are you sure this is real? It's too good to be true. Allow me to cut in and give some examples as to why men don't pick up on the signs. I had one female friend I liked a lot. We ate together in class every day, talked every day, and made a lot of physical contact. She would scratch my back, ask me to massage her feet, etc. A lot of flirting went on. I asked her out on a date and she said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't like you like that. Another girl gets flirty with me often. We've made out. She has said I had a dream about us ducking last night, which sparked a conversation that ended with her admitting she wanted to have a sex with me. She even talks about marrying me. Oh, but she's seeing someone. Wait, what? Gorgeous Russian blonde sat next to me in study hall for a year in high school. Every day we would push our desks together and playfully kick each other under the desk, hide each other's stuff, and do homework together. After I moved states she berated me for how oblivious I was. In my defense, I was a lanky nerd with low self-esteem. I was pursuing him hard. He was making me dinner at his house and we are chatting. He makes a joke about the hoops he'd have to jump through to get a classy woman like me to sleep with him. I respond with, it wouldn't take all of that for you to get me in your bed, as I flirtatiously grin at him and roll my eyes towards his bedroom. He laughs and responds with, so what do you like on your salad? Thankfully I didn't give up on that dork and now we are happily living together in the mountains. We met at a Reddit meetup. Talking on Facebook I mentioned a new bar near where I worked. He said he'd never heard of it. I said they had really good Bloody Marys. He said he didn't like mixed drinks. Then I read a Reddit thread about guys. When have you realized too late she was flirting with you and realized he has no clue I wanted to go out for drinks? So I messaged him again and was more blunt about it. We are now married and expecting our second boy any day now. This was one that happened to me. I'm a girl, but I might as well share it anyway. There was this guy in my class in elementary school and he told me he had a crush on a girl in our class, and if I could guess who, he would tell me. I guessed every girl in my class and he said no to them all. So I eventually just assumed he was messing with me and gave up. It took me 10 years to realize that I'd forgotten to guess myself. Actual conversation between me and now ex-boyfriend. Me. I bought some new leopard print panties. I can't wait for you to see them. I bought printer ink today. I always referred to him, and only him, with an endearing honorific. I asked to go hang out for a day in a different city. Just the two of us. I insisted that I walk with him to the grocery store while all our other friends waited at home. Even though my feet were killing me at the time and everyone knew that, I always sat with my body facing him during social events. These aren't too obvious as isolated incidents, but all the little things accumulating over time should have told an idiot that I liked him. And yet he seemed to not have any idea. My girlfriends were definitely catching on. For what it's worth, I'm almost certain he liked me too. But he had little self-confidence. I considered confessing to him, but, probably like him, I didn't want to risk everything being a huge misunderstanding and damaging our friendship. But now we're an ocean away. So I guess that's that. My fiance registered sign had no idea I was hitting on him before we started dating. After spending a day together with our college club, we returned to the campus. I asked him if he was free anytime the next week to hang out. He just said, "Nope, I'm really busy," which he maintains to this day was true. Then a few weeks later I tried to get him to hang out again and pretended to send a mass text to see who was in town for spring break. It was my night off, so I hoped he would respond. The next day he texts me here and that was it. I was convinced he didn't like me, but several of my friends told me to just ask him out. When I finally worked up the courage, I was so nervous that I was not my usual happy goofy self. I told him I needed to talk to him, and he thought he had pissed me off. He had no idea I was interested until I asked him out, and he was really happy when I did. We've been together for almost 5 years, less than 3. We hung out often. This last birthday of his was a hot day in July. I texted him. 95% of females who know better would be down for skinny dipping tonight. He responded, "That activity sounds like it's lacking in morals." Me. Makes sense. I have few morals. I used to sneak out and throw rocks at his window at night to get him to come out and talk to me. Also used to organize friend nights for the sole purpose of seeing him. Was a complete shock to him apparently when my friend drunkenly told him he was so blind to my crush on him. Lol boys. Edit. We've now been dating for 6 years. I said I really care about you. He said cool. He didn't get it. I said no, I really care about you. Like more than I care about most other people. He said OHHHH. Yeah, I like you too. We are now happily married. I find myself wondering when he will figure that out too. I'm a guy and I have a story that's not quite what OP asked. There was this girl who liked me and I was very aware of it. She kept showing up to events I was gonna be at. She flirted with me constantly. Sat right next to me at every chance. I liked her too. But here's the thing. I'm pretty it. Like, I'm just not boyfriend material and I knew that's what she wanted. So I had a frank discussion with her about this and she convinced me to date her anyway. We were together for 2 years. During which she slowly realized how it I was. And I slowly fell ridiculously in love with her. So she dumped me and man it hurt. Ladies, if a guy straight up tells you he's it, leave off. Fellas, if you know you're it, don't let a girl convince you you're wrong. This isn't the movies. The guy doesn't suddenly find the will to make his life better because of the girl. The girl doesn't have the ability to fix him. In the end, all that you get is heartbreak. Get your it together first, else. Don't get involved with someone who thinks you will. When I was in high school, I would try to hold the guy I liked hand, put myself under his arm, and have him pretend to be my boyfriend when other guys that were crushing on me came near. I would jump on him when I hugged him, and I would lean on him, and touch him as much as I could. For years the ducker thought he was friend-zoned. For years I thought he friend-zoned me. This is from the other side of it. A girl had asked me to come help her study. Mind you, we were in 2 different majors. She kept asking me for a week and I finally said I'd come over at such and such time. Well, I get to her place. She's in a sports bra and spandex shorts in the living room. Her excuse was that she was exercising by doing P90, not a hint of sweat. I think nothing of it. She shows me around the house and eventually leads me up to her bedroom and told me numerous times her roommates were not home. I still don't get what she's going for. I ask if we are going to study and she proceeds to show me stuff in her room and asks if I was good at anatomy. Then her roommates show up. It all went over my head until one night at the bar, in her inebriated state, angrily yelled that she liked me and that I was an idiot for not noticing. I asked this guy out to prom and he agreed to go with me. We knew each other from school even though he was a year older than me and we had even been out to a comedy show before together. Fast forward a couple of weeks and I message him over Facebook to let him know what color my dress is, in case he wants to match, and he replies with, "Oh, I thought you were joking. I'm going with so and so," and that's how I ended up dateless for prom. We were 16 years old and playing hide and seek with a bunch of friends in an old abandoned warehouse. I actively sought him out as my hiding partner and he reluctantly went into a small cozy closet with me. He thought we could find a better hiding spot. I finally convinced him to go inside with me and we were damn near pressed up against one another. I told him we could do just about anything in here and no one would know and he said yeah. But we'd make noise and they'd find us outside. Later on that night I found out that the rest of our group had all basically used the game as a pretense to hook up with various people. Meanwhile my crush was in full on hiding mode. I'm a guy. I was 23ish at the time. I think. I was super into this girl. We were best friends. Both virgins. She was super into me. But my clueless ass had no idea. One night, we were sitting in a parking lot in my car talking about sex, which we did surprisingly often. She asked me a hypothetical. What would you do if? And then she proceeded to describe our surroundings and the situation almost exactly. And she said she wanted to duck you right there. My ducking dumbass answered the question and then continued the conversation like it was all good. Bought him fancy chocolate on Valentine's Day. He just said thanks, ate some, and walked away.